once you get through the atmosphere, and the next big thing is the deployment parachutes. Once you deploy the parachutes, you're almost home. One more startling thing is when you hit the water, the Apollo spacecraft had a tendency to turn upside down. Ours did not, fortunately.
We're in Houston, Texas, and enjoying the hospitality of Bev and Steven, who will be showing us around the southeast.
So from here you can see about 3 mini city centres. So straight down there is the Galleria area, and then if you see straight behind the flag, that's actually the downtown area. And then just a little bit further in between the two is the medical centre. The medical centre here is just enormous. It's probably one of the top 3 medical centres in the country. There is a fair amount of computing industry. Compaq, HP, Larry Ellison, the Oracle guys, based out of Houston. And of course you've got NASA, which there's a fair amount of industry and contractors associated with that, all high tech.
Today we're visiting the Johnston Space Centre, including the mission control rooms. The centre displays a fantastic history of the US space program, with many hand-on exhibits. This is a replica space shuttle, which is named the Independence. The cockpit has an ample array of switches and displays to keep me mesmerised for quite a few minutes. These are some of the many rocks brought back from the moon by the Apollo 15 and 16 missions. Another display allows you to touch a moon rock through a plexiglass panel, but it has been worn smooth by countless fingers. We have taken the tram tour to the rocket park, where one of the very few examples of a complete Saturn V rocket is displayed. This unit had been discarded nearby and left to the weather until its historical value was recognised and a shed was built to restore and display it. It consisted of 3 stages which total 363 feet in length. The first stage comprises 5 huge F1 engines which fell into the sea after burning for a little over 2.5 minutes. These engines burned rocket-grade kerosene and used liquid oxygen as oxidizer, burning the mix at a rate of 2,500 kilograms per second each. The second stage contained 5 J2 engines, which operated using liquid hydrogen as the fuel and typically burned for about 9 minutes before being jettisoned to burn up in the atmosphere. The third stage had 1 J2 engine, which was used for orbital manoeuvres and later to commence the trip to the moon. Some of these stages were crashed into the moon to measure the seismic impact. The primary feature of the Neutral Buoyancy Lab, or NBL, is this 23.5 million litre pool.
The base function of this facility is to train astronauts to do their spacewalks. That's it. In a nutshell, that's what we do here. We train them to do spacewalks. So we want to make this fly like as possible. Being underwater is the best way to simulate microgravity for any length of time.
So what kinds of things do you do?
As a diver here, well, first and foremost, we are here for the astronaut safety, because they do wear the real spacesuit while they're in the pool. Okay, it's the real EMU, which is that big white puffy suit. That's the real thing. They cannot swim in that. They cannot get themselves out if they are to have some type of issue, whether it's a suit malfunction or a medical issue. If they need to get out of the water, they are physically incapable of getting themselves out. So we have to do that for them. So on a daily basis, we are here to make this experience as flight-like as possible. Just including the day of duty stations, it takes 25 or 26 of us, 26 people, to support 2 astronauts in the water.
Wow.
We are trained to be first responders. We're all, certainly everybody in the dive team, we're trained to be lifeguards here in the facility. We're trained on first aid, CPR, oxygen administration. We, of course, practice rescuing the suit. In fact, this Friday we're having one of our emergency egress days where we have 2 divers getting in the spacesuit, and the rest of the dive team, we take turns being their safety divers.
This is a working room 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, year-round, controlling the International Space Station. And it is controlled from here, right here in Mission Control. The flight director is the person in charge, and there have shift change going on at a lot of the consoles that you see here. So that's why you see 2 people at the consoles. So they work 9-hour shifts, 8 hours on, the 9th hour is their handover hour. The person who makes the decisions for the mission is our flight director today, is called Guy in the green shirt. So there's many different mission controls, and there's a backup command center to support this mission control center at Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. Coming around back here, ground controls at the very back, make sure the communications systems are working properly. NASA has satellites that are positioned 22,000 miles above the equator, and that's how the astronauts communicate with mission controllers, through those satellites. We have a surgeon here. Surgeon is the doctor on duty, but BME is a biomedical engineer. BME supports the surgeon, plus BME is also the ones who are monitoring the experiments that are happening on board the ISS. So lots of duties that these consoles have. Now, we didn't get to see the world when we were over at ISS. Here it is. Those are actually live shots from the International Space Station. So that's our plane. You can see the Soyuz in progress on the 4th part of that quad screen. The one closest up, kind of like it's closer to us, is the Soyuz. That's the vehicle that carries 3 crew members. It's the emergency crew return vehicle from the ISS, and it's their ride home. The one that's sitting further back is a little bit more slender in design. That is the Progress. That's the unmanned cargo module. No one can override the flight director's decision, so they make the decisions for this mission. Now, there's enough wiring underneath these floors to wrap around the world 3 times. These consoles that you're sitting at are not computers. These are actually the monitors. Computers were IBM 360 Model 75A mainframe. They had their own space used to support that mission and get the crew back home from the moon. It's wild, isn't it? Decided going to send a crew beyond low Earth orbit, and the first time that man had gone beyond where no man had gone before. So like the Star Trek will face very steady.
After having lunch with an astronaut, we have made our way to Building 9, which houses the space vehicle mock-up facility. It contains full-scale models of all of the modules of the International Space Station, which are maintained to be as accurate as possible to the actual ISS in orbit, although I am sure there's a lot less background noise in space. Our guide gives us the background on many projects which are underway here, including Orion, the next NASA crewed space vehicle, which is being tested and evaluated by astronauts in this facility as part of the ongoing design process. This facility provides an essential part of mission training, which enables astronauts to familiarise themselves with all of the equipment they will use on their missions. The facility is also used by engineers and mission specialists to work through and resolve problems that may be encountered on the ISS and then communicate the resolution process to the astronauts in orbit. As well as the guided tour, we are given ample time to walk around the safe areas of the building, which is also home to many prototypes such as exploration rover vehicles and robotic equipment.